Today we're going to learn how to divide decimals. We've already learned that if you're trying to divide a whole number into another whole number and it doesn't go in evenly, you can add a decimal to the end of the whole number and then as many zeros after as you need until it either terminates or repeats. Well, today we're going to have decimals in our divisors and in our dividends. So if you look at this example, 62 and 334 thousandths divided by 12, let's think about how we're going to solve this problem. So we're going to put the 62 and 334 thousandths inside the division symbol, and we're dividing by 12. Now, the number we're dividing by does not have a decimal in it. And since the 12 does not have a decimal in it, we're going to take the decimal in our problem and we're going to bring it straight up into our answer. So we know that the decimal is going to go straight there. And then we just divide using the standard algorithm. So I know that 12 does not go into 6, so I put a 0 there. 12 goes into 62 5 times, that's 60. I'm going to subtract, that's 2. And I'm going to bring down the next number, which is a 3. Now, at this point, I'm doing 12 into 23, which goes one time. But notice that that 3 we brought down was in the tenths place. So the 1, the 12 goes into 23 one time, actually goes to the right of the decimal. So now we know we have 5 wholes, and then everything we're working for from here is going to be a decimal portion of how many times 12 goes into that number. So 1 times 12 is 12. I subtract, I get 11. So I'm going to bring down the next number, and it's 12 into 113. 12 goes into 113 9 times. 9 times 12 is 108. I'm going to subtract that. I have 13 minus 8, which is 5. I'm going to bring down the next number, which is a 4. Oops, I wrote a 5. The next number, which is a 4. 12 goes into 54 4 times. That's 48. And when I subtract, 14 minus 8 is 6. Now, I'm done with my number, and I have a remainder still. So I can't write remainders when I'm working with decimals, so I have to add a 0. So I'm going to 0 at the end of the 4, and then I'm going to bring that 0 down next to the 6. 12 goes into 65 times. 5 times 12 is 60, and now I do have a remainder of 0. So again, we're going to continue all problems until they either terminate or form a pattern, which makes it repeating. So 62 and 334 thousandths divided by 12 is 5 and 1,942 ten thousandths. That is the answer. Okay, so now we need to talk about what happens when you have a decimal in the number you are dividing by. So let's say I'm dividing 3 and 19 hundredths by 2 and 5 tenths. Now this time I have a decimal in both of my problems, both of the numbers, the divisor and the dividend. So we still put the 3 and 19 hundredths inside the division symbol, and we put 2 and 5 tenths outside. Now, here is what you need to know about this situation. There is a decimal in the number we're dividing by, and you can't divide by a decimal. So what we need to do is make the decimal a whole number. So we are going to use Shwooppies. We are going to take the decimal in the number you're dividing by, and we're going to move it so it's a whole number. So I have to move that decimal one space to the right to make it a whole number. Now it's 25. If I move the decimal one space to the right in the number I'm dividing by, then I need to move the decimal one space to the right in the number I'm dividing into. So the decimal moves in between the 1 and the 9, and it's going to go straight up in between there, so the decimal is in the answer right there. The biggest mistake I see year after year is people using the swoopy to move the decimal over in this part of the problem, but then still putting the decimal directly above where it was in the answer. That's not the case. You have to remember the decimal has to go directly above where it is after you move it, okay? So my new problem is now 31 and 9/10 divided by 25. And my decimal was right here, like we said. So we're going to do that problem then. 25 goes into 31 one time. Didn't go into 3, so it goes into 31 one time. That's 25. I subtract, I get 6. Bring down the 9. 25 goes into 69 two times. Now, mind you, that's on the other side of the decimal. So we have 50. Subtract, I get 19. Now I still have a remainder, so I have to keep adding zeros to the end of my decimal. Bring that down. It's 25 into 190. 25 goes into 197 times. That is 175. Going to subtract there. Borrow from the 9, make it an 8. 10 minus 5 is 5. 8 minus 7 is 1. I have 15. Still have a remainder. Add another 0. Bring that down. 25 into 150 is 6 times. 6 times 25 is 150. So now I have a remainder of 0. So 30 and 19 hundredths divided by 2.5 is 1 and 276 hundredths. 1.276. So we had to move the decimal over, so we were dividing by a whole number. Now, sometimes when you're doing that, for example, in this problem, if I get 25 divided by 0.08 or 8 hundredths. Okay, I'm going to put the 25 inside, and I'm dividing by 8 hundredths. Now this one's a little different. I have two numbers outside that I'm dividing by, so I can't divide by 8 hundredths. This time I have to swoopy 1, 2 times to make it a whole number. So now I know I'm going to be dividing by 8. But if I swoopy 2 times on the outside, I have to swoopy 2 times on the inside. But the problem is, where's the decimal? So remember, 25 is a whole number, so the decimal's at the end. So I'm going to swoopy 2 times to the right, but what do I put in a decimal? What do I put in swoopies that have no numbers or no in them? You're going to put zeros in there. So I'm going to put a 0 here and a 0 here. And because I moved it 2 times over, my decimal goes straight up in that answer right there. So I'm really doing 8 into 2,500. And I can put the decimal here. There isn't another number after. I just know that my decimal is going to be that part of my problem. So 8 does not go into 2, but it goes into 25 3 times. 3 times 8 is 24. Subtract, I get 1. Bring down the 0. 8 goes into 10 one time. That's 8. Subtract, I get 2. Bring down the 0. 8 goes into 22 times. That's 16. Subtract, I get 4. Now here's the problem. I have a remainder. Again, we know how to do this. We have a decimal in our problem. We're just going to add a 0 after the decimal. I'm going to bring that 0 down next to the 4. So now I'm doing 8 into 40, which is 5. And that's on the right side of the decimal. So 5 times 8 is 40. And we do have 0 as a remainder. So that one terminates. So 25 divided by 8 hundredths is 312 and 5 tenths. Okay, so we're going to have you try this on your own. Remember, you can't divide by a decimal, so we're going to swoopy it over so it's a whole number. But whatever you swoopy on the outside, you need to swoopy on the inside. Good luck.